Hi, everybody. It's Ann Murado. I am sitting across from my friend Julia Pettis. Julia I call Julia a triple threat. I'll let her explain what I mean by that. Julia is an expert in our industry and somebody we've gone to as a resource and for interviews and tips and tricks. And she's an educator, she's an artist. But I'm going to let you, Julia, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into some questions about marketing and the beauty profession.
Awesome. So I like to refer to myself as a perfect mix of beauty and brains. I'm dually licensed both as a hairstylist and an esthetician. I've been in the industry for about 18 years now. And I wear a lot of different hats, and I'm thankful that each hat has kind of really blossomed into what I've developed my beauty career to look like. So I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona, but every month I'm always out of town somewhere, whether I'm doing hair on set or makeup for a commercial or educating. That's, my love. That's my passion. That's my love language for sure.
And I wanted to talk to you about marketing because, as you said, you sort of have this great balance, and you're left brain, right brain going on there. So what is one marketing move that made a big difference in building your beauty business?
For me, I think what has really rung true, something that I learned very early on, before I even became licensed, was to test shoot. So in doing that, I was working with hairstylists, I was working with photographers, I was working with models to put together series of images. And in putting those series of images together, it allowed me to kind of craft what I felt like I wanted the potential client to see so that they could book me for their projects. So I really, really focused on things that were very commercial in tone. So something like that you would see for an ad campaign for a Nike or an Adidas. Like, I would put out those types of test shoots as proof of concept that I could really land that role, whether it was for makeup or hair. And that has really helped me in building my portfolio, in building my brand. And it's helpful because in those test shoots, you're not, it doesn't cost you anything, but it's also showcasing your skill set so that people get an idea of who you are and what you're able to do.
And you're building those relationships too with those photographers and those people who are going to be putting together shoots in the future. I love that.
Yeah, 100%.
What advice would you give to other beauty pros who feel sort of overwhelmed by marketing? Just even the term might kind of turn them off.
Yeah, I know. It can be a little overwhelming. And I think that social media is a double-edged sword. But I think that it's very important, if you're going to use social media as a part of your marketing, to be very intentional in starting small. Like, pick one platform that makes the most sense to you, and really focus and hone in on what works on that particular platform. Whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's Instagram, whether that's Facebook, whether that's TikTok, any of those. But pick one and really get strong in that area before you start kind of navigating others, because it can become very overwhelming. But you want to really try to build your voice and just kind of start small in that area. And then that way it feels more authentic to you.
I like the build your voice advice too, because if you are just throwing spaghetti against the wall, trying to see what sticks, instead of intentionally taking some time, creating content that feels like it's really coming from you, but speaking to that client that maybe you want to attract. So how do you approach marketing on social media without feeling salesy? I use that term because that is what I hear some people say turns them off, that they're not comfortable, feeling like they're constantly pitching themselves.
And that's important because you don't want to feel like you're constantly pitching or sounding salesy. So my approach personally is I like for it to sound more conversational. That way it rings true to who I am. Like, I want the individual that is the end user to read through that and say, oh, she's talking directly to me. So you can do that by showing behind the scenes, by showing some of your processes, by offering tips and tricks. There's so many different ways, but again, finding that brand voice and finding what works for you is super, super important. But I think overthinking it and just really coming at it as a conversation versus a sales pitch is really going to help you kind of hone your skill and bring the individuals in that you're trying to attract.
Yeah, and I like what you said about offering some tips or advice, because if you think of yourself as being of service, it's different than sort of patting yourself on the back. It's like you're trying to offer your point of view, you as the beauty professional. Julia, I didn't mention all the awards, all the accolades, all the things that you have gained in this industry, but I love hearing how they sort of started from you just putting your work out there, and now being that editorial artist on the shoot. I'm grateful for your time, and I'm grateful for your expertise, and thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.